We are going to take our country back.
Yes, sir.
Send them home. That's the plan. Now, for all those who believe reform is the solution, I have this to say. Nigel and his merry band of grifters are behaving like the kids who weren't invited to the parties at school. They resent establishment conservatives, not because they disagree with them, but because they want to be them. Reform do not believe in mass deportations or remigration. They are metropolitan liberals playing at patriots, and we see through their act. UKIP is unashamedly the party of the right. UKIP says, deport the lot of them. The illegals, the Islamists, the foreign nationals in our prisons, those on visas claiming welfare, their time in Britain is now running out. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at war, and we know exactly who we are at war with. Our enemy is the far left and the Islamists. Our enemy is the deep state, who seeks to turn us all into corporate drones, eating bugs and living in pods. Our enemy is liberalism and godlessness. The time for compromise and diplomacy is over. Our ancestors did not sacrifice their lives for us to surrender to these Marxist cockroaches. UKIP is not concerned with winning the hearts and minds of liberals and perverts. UKIP is here to speak the truth.
Yes, sir.
To stand up for the working class, the heart that keeps this country beating. We have no interest in liberal metropolitan areas. We represent real Britain. We speak for every man and woman who wants their country back. We have had decades of corrupt, self-interested, liberal politicians and decades of lies. The British public have had their trust trampled on and betrayed over and over again. We at UKIP are going to provide the British public with solutions, and we are going to give the British public what they want. We are going to send them home. The political elite have lied to you. Mass migration does not benefit Britain. It drains our resources. There is simply no economic case for mass migration. We don't just want to bring down immigration numbers. We want to end immigration. We want to reverse mass uncontrolled immigration. We want mass deportations. Mass immigration without assimilation is an invasion. An invasion, like our forefathers, we must repel. We will not allow cultures and peoples into our country who refuse to assimilate. We are told we cannot afford to give our pensioners a couple of £100 each to stop them from freezing to death this winter, whilst two-tier care spends £8 million a day housing illegals in 4-star hotels. These leeches won't be freezing this winter. No, they're living the life of luxury, paid for by you and me. It is a sick society that cares more about criminals than they do about the heroes who built our once great nation. Whilst migrants flood our shores, young people have been robbed of the chance to grow up in British communities. Gone are the pubs and working men's clubs. Gone is our community cohesion. Gone is our culture, our safety, and even opportunities, as our communities have been slowly replaced and the British identity eroded. Now, if the electorate keeps voting in traitors, best of luck trying to get a house, as even on housing lists, we see time and time again that migrants have priority over locals. The UK does not have a housing problem, it has a demand problem, fueled by mass immigration. We want to stop tarmacking over the countryside and save the environment, close the borders. Less people, less need for new houses. We don't need net zero, we need border control. Sadly, now, even if you can escape the lawless, multicultural cities to the countryside, our regional towns are becoming soulless commuter dormitories. Families are being forced to move further away from places of employment and face lengthy, endlessly congested commutes with speed cameras and smart motorways designed to fleece you out of your hard-earned cash. But don't worry, once you find your safe haven away from the multicultural nightmare of the city you escaped, you'll find yourself in the heartland of Arabization and Islamic colonialism, situated next to 2 or 3 luxury flats being used to house illegal invaders, which you'll be paying for as you work yourself to death for a job which pays you peanuts once the establishment have taken their cut to fund diversity, inclusion and equality programs that brand you as a racist for having an opinion. Whilst our young people are unable to secure a house, they're unable to start families, which fuels the left's argument to mass import labour. The globalists have artificially manufactured our low birth rates to justify their agenda. But I can sympathise with young people, as even if you have a house, why would you want to bring a child into the world in modern Britain? The schools are full, you can't get doctor's appointments, there is rampant poverty, criminals operate with impunity, and we are treated like second-class citizens in our own country. A country that all of our ancestors shed blood for. That must change, and together we will give our young people the most important thing in this world: hope. Hope that by the time they have children, this country will be great again. Mass migration isn't working, and we are fed up with the great migration lie. We were told we had to experience the immigration explosion to save our economy, but we have millions here now and the economy is in tatters. We have all been lied to. There are nearly 11 million unemployed people in Britain. We simply do not need any more unskilled migrants. Ladies and gentlemen, there are urgent concerns about future societal cohesion, and questions remain as to whether Britain can remain a viable, functioning, democratic state when multiculturalism has eroded national unity and identity. The truth is, we are being colonised by those who choose to not fit in. They choose to wear foreign clothing. They choose to not speak English. They choose to force British people out of their communities. They choose to blast anti-social, religious calls to prayer, and they choose to isolate themselves. Well, if they don't want to join in our society, then let's give them what they want and send them home. There are a forecasted 3 to 5 million living in the UK who should not be here. UKIP pledges to deport them all. Nigel Farage says it is a political impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people. UKIP says enough is enough. Deport all of them. No excuses. Those who are not loyal, those who do not respect our sovereignty, our culture, our faith, our laws, democracy, and freedom of speech do not belong here. Alongside mass migration, let's look at the problem of radical Islam rising in Britain. Now let's be clear, not every Muslim is a terrorist, but 57 out of the 80 prescribed terrorist organisations are Islamic. There are 450 Muslims in the British Army. 750 British Muslims joined ISIS. There are 43,000 on MI5's terror watch list. 39,000 are Islamic. There are 25 Muslim MPs in Parliament. And our Justice Secretary is Shabana Mahmood. When have you ever seen any of these condemn Islamism? Have you seen any of them call for radical Muslim hate preachers to be locked up? No different from the Italians and the Irish in America. The Muslims set up in the poorest British neighbourhoods and decided to make that community theirs. They decided to appoint leaders. They decided to colonise every street and know everyone around them. They decided to own everything in that neighbourhood. They decided to have committees and meetings and to organise and allocate roles. In the case of the Islamic bloc vote, they decided to become councillors and mayors so that they could ensure that they would win when it came to elections. They decided to slowly but surely seize power so that they can start contributing to writing laws in which further their agenda, which is the caliphate in Britain. Britain ended slavery, defeated the Nazis, and Christianity is the very basis of the glue that holds us together within this green and glorious land. And Christianity is what we shall use to defeat Islamism. Now, I appreciate not everyone is a Christian. But this country can only be great again when we have a return to Christian values. Liberalism and godlessness, profit and greed is what has gotten us into this mess. If you do not know your history, you cannot build your future. Someone else will do it for you. 70 years of communism plagued Europe, making life unbearable. People under communism know what it's like to lose your freedom, and yet our children are being indoctrinated to cower to Islam, reject Christianity, and embrace communist-inspired globalism. We must stand up to this evil. I despise the rhetoric that Britain was built on the backs of immigrants. People truly don't understand our history, and they don't understand we aren't America. We didn't have large-scale slavery here. Britain was built on the backs of the indigenous working class, and we must reject the wholesale Americanization of our history. We are in the process right now of forever losing the only spot of land that we have on this earth that is dedicated to the flowering and preservation of the British people. It is a tiny little spot, and this is true for every Western nation. The crime we are witnessing is the total and complete erosion and undermining of our culture and our faith. Despite our country being over maximum capacity, we still have masses of middle-class liberals demanding we bring more over. Because they like foreign food, it makes them feel special. They are completely deluded. We don't need 1 million migrants a year to make curry. We literally have the recipes. These people are set on destroying our country because they are blind to the reality of mass migration. It is not their kids being groomed, stabbed and murdered. It is the working class communities who suffer. These same metropolitan liberals have used the sweat of the working class to further their success. They have climbed up the ladder, and instead of helping us join them, they have pulled the ladder up behind them and spat on us. The middle classes profited off of your labour, and how do they repay you? They demonise you. They flood your communities with migrants. They tell you that your kids deserve to be groomed. They tell you you can't have an opinion, and they call for you to be locked up if you dare to speak out. To the liberal metropolitan middle class, I have this to say. You may be sitting comfortably in your safe neighbourhoods, but remember, we were the ones who built this country, and we have the power to build a new country where you traitors will not be welcome. Let us now talk solutions. We all know what is wrong with this country, but how are we together going to fix it? We're going to be the voice of the voiceless. We are going to stand up for the hard-working British public who have been silenced by tyranny and who are victims of the far left and liberal elite. UKIP is the party of the working class. We will stand strong against the corrupt globalist elite. We must fight for Britain, make it Christian again, and not let the Islamists and the communists take our land. We can win our country back. We can take our country back. 3 words: deportations, deportations, deportations. The Netherlands, Hungary, Belgium, Italy, Germany, Portugal, Sweden, France, Spain, Czech Republic, and now Austria. Europe is taking action. It is voting its way out of this mess. Times are indeed changing. Identity, sovereignty, freedom, and no more illegal immigration or asylum is what tens of millions of Europeans long for. Let's do the same. Let's do the same. We are going to re-engineer society. We are going to close the borders. We are going to leave the ECHR. We are going to repeal the 1998 Human Rights Act, the 1951 Human Rights Act, and all other legislation which holds us prisoner to and subjugates us to supranational tyranny. We are going to mass deport up to 5 million people. We are going to strip our corrupt civil service, the heart of the establishment, of lazy, corrupt career politicians, and end the era of the deep state. We are going to stand up to and say no to those foreign international lobby groups who believe they can buy our democracy, where we see their influence over British domestic and foreign policy as anti-Christian and not in Britain's best interest. We are going to turn our beloved towns into crime-free, drug-free, green spaces of beauty and affordable housing for our young and elderly. There will be zero tolerance policy to antisocial behaviour. UKIP is going to invest in Britain and its people. This means investing in policing and in upholding the law with a stern focus on keeping the peace and protecting the lives and properties of tax-paying citizens. We are going to repeal the 2008 Climate Change Act, scrap net zero and nonsense, costly climate change ideas and lobbying. We will leave the Paris Agreement. We will protect our children by banning members of far-left organisations from being allowed anywhere near teaching roles ever again. We will scrap all diversity, inclusion and equality policies and repeal the 2010 Equality Act, the 2004 Gender Recognition Act, and we will repeal the 2013 Marriage Act. We are also going to remove hate speech laws. We are going to put Christianity back into the heart of government. We are going to end the pandemic of fatherlessness and the I Hate Men campaign. We are going to incentivise married couples to start families and reaffirm the importance of homemaking and the nature of the gender roles. We are going to end the feminisation of men and the masculinisation of women. We are going to declare war on radical Islam and send the Islamists back to the Stone Age where they belong. We are going to finally get the people proper justice by offering voters a referendum on the death penalty. People ask me, why are we still called the United Kingdom Independence Party after the EU referendum? But Brexit was just the first brick pushed out of the wall. The British public has still not been freed from bureaucratic tyranny, and UKIP pledges to be the sledgehammer that knocks down the wall of oppression. We demand independence from globalists pushing anti-British and anti-Christian agendas. We demand independence from the communists who seek to bastardize our history. We demand independence from the Islamists and from radical Islam. We demand independence from corrupt, self-interested politicians hell-bent on destroying our culture and our way of life. We demand independence from the cultural vandalism, the degeneracy, from the pervasion into our nation by the media, by the movies, who purport filth into the minds of our children and who seek to undermine our culture, our way of life, our religion, and our values. Ladies and gentlemen, the new right rises, and as God is my witness, we will take our country back. And when we do, it will be for His glory. In 5 years' time, we vote our way out of this.